Hi, welcome to Undead Yarn episode 10. My name is Heidi, and you can find me on Ravelry and Plurk as Knitty Girl, and on Twitter and Instagram as Knitty Girl 1, and also on YouTube as Knitty Girl 1. Hopefully this is going to be my first episode on iTunes if we can figure out how to upload to Hipcast. So welcome to new viewers who might be finding me for the first time, and thank you so much to all of you who've been watching me from the beginning. I'm going to go ahead right into my finished objects, or not finished objects, works in progress. I'm working on a simple shawl in my purple vein yarn. This is what it looks like. And I'm using Chai-Goos, and these are size 6, and I still love the Chai-Goos. I love the pointy tips on the needles. I love the cable. I'm beginning to think it's going to be one of my new favorites. May take over my previous love of Addi Turbo needles. So that's my first work in progress. I'm also working on a blanket that I have not shown before because it's an acrylic. And I told Nicole of the Positively Knitting podcast that I was inspired by her showing all her projects she was doing with acrylic and inexpensive yarns, so I said I'm gonna show mine too, since I've been working on this for a while. This is a blanket, and I was trying to make it for more than one person, but it might end up just being wide enough for one person. And I'm knitting it in homespun, and I'm using a pattern that I had to find on the internet. I went on the Lion Brand website and I didn't like any of the patterns they had for the homespun. This is called the Homespun Stripes Afghan, and I'm not really sure why it's called stripes. I guess they probably used a striping homespun when they knit with it, but I like it because of the texture. It's basically, it's kind of like a seed stitch. Maybe it's more of a double moss stitch, and the edges are garter. So there you go, Nicole. I showed it. That's my project that I've been working on for a long time. That's probably going to take me a while to finish, so I may not show that again until I'm finished. But yeah, I do think that acrylic has its place. It's nice for things that you want to wash. You can just throw it in the washer and the dryer. And especially for baby stuff too. So those are the two things that I've been working on this week. I do have a finished object. I finally finished the shawl that I said last time I was giving myself a deadline of December 25th to finish it by Christmas. Well, I actually went ahead and finished it, and it hasn't been blocked yet. I know some people think you shouldn't show a shawl until it's blocked, but it's a finished object, so I'm showing it. And I probably will show it again after I block it. I'm hoping to block it soon because I may decide to wear this next week when I go to the Arkansas Fiber Festival. I'm really looking forward to going to it. They had asked me if I wanted to vend, but I am nowhere near ready to be a vendor yet, so I said not this time, but I will be there as a participant, and I'm going to be taking a class from Sally Melville, and I'm hoping to see a lot of people there, meet a lot of people. This, I forgot to say, this is the Twilight Shallette by Tasha Poe, and it's crocheted. I believe I used an H hook for this, but you can look on my projects page to see where the pattern is and what I used if you need to know. This is also done with my Undead yarn. This is the Big Bad Wolf 8 Little Red Riding Hood, part 1. So that's my finished object. And spinning. I did finally start spinning a new thing because I got some new bobbins. I'm still holding off on the Navajo plying. Yeah, I'm being kind of a chicken about that. I just don't want to ruin the yarn. But I did start spinning this. It's Western Sky Knits, and I split it in half, and I'm going to make it a 2-ply. So far, I've spun, I can see it right here on my wheel, but I'm not going to take it off. So far, I've spun some yellow, and some pink and blue. And the colors are all lining up nicely, so I'm hoping that when I get a 2-ply, it will be close to a self-striping yarn. And this is from Western Sky Knits. Don't remember. Oh, I have the colorway right here. Let's see if there's a number or if it's a color. This is called, the colorway is called Blossom, and it's a lot of pastels. And this is 100%, I believe it's 100% superwash merino. Yeah, it's not superwash, but it's super fine merino, and it is very squishy. This is really luxurious. It's one of the nicest things I've spun so far, besides the BFL and silk fiber that I had from Fiber Nymph. It feels wonderful when you're spinning it. Then the next thing I wanted to talk about is the reason I didn't record last week is because my husband was at Comic-Con, and he was the Comic-Con here in Austin, and he was promoting his comic. He's got a comic business called Cranium Comics, and he has 2 comics out. One is called Brawn, and the other's called Curse. So he's my cameraman, so that's why we didn't record last week, because he was busy last week. But it works out well because I'm going to be out of town next week, so it'll start a new every other week schedule going fine for us. And I wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. We had one of our friends come over, and we ordered something called a turducken, and it's a Cajun dish, I believe. We ordered it from a place called Stuffed, and the outside was turkey, and then inside was stuffed with duck, and then they added another thing on the very inside. There's a stuffing, and you could choose what you wanted for your stuffing, and we got crawfish rice stuffing, and it was so good. But I was so full when we were done. It was really, really yummy though. And we had one of our friends come over, since my parents are, they went to visit my brother, and then my in-laws are not in town either, so we just had a quiet Thanksgiving. And happy Hanukkah to those of you who celebrate. I hope you guys are enjoying that. It's kind of weird that they're so close together, Thanksgiving and Hanukkah this year. I think Hanukkah's usually closer to Christmas, but Thanksgiving is so late this year. I also wanted to talk about, oh, I forgot to say, the next night we went to see Catching Fire, the new Hunger Games movie, and it was really good. But we were all, well, I guess not the person, one of the people who was with us had read the book, and she wasn't disappointed in the ending, but we kind of felt like we were just left hanging there, like, and what's next? So they had a big cliffhanger at the end of that movie, but I was really surprised. It was much better, I thought, than the first one, but I've heard people say that they like the second book better than the first book. I'm probably not going to read the books. I think I'll just end up watching the movies. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about was I wanted to kind of finish up talking about the yarn crawl. After the yarn crawl was done, I got an email from Old Oaks Fiber Ranch, and they're in Wimberley, saying that they were going out of business, which is kind of sad because they haven't been there that long, and it's kind of a neat place because next door they have alpacas. But I guess when I drove up, they said that they were selling their alpacas too. I got there the day after the sale started. They'd marked everything down to 40%, and all the looms and spinning wheels are pretty much gone. There was one triangle loom that I wanted to get, but somebody grabbed it just before I got to it, so I didn't get it. But I did get some yarn, but it's just all commercial yarn that I bought. I bought some Araucania and Poems self-striping yarn. But I did win a contest from another podcast. I entered the shawl that I knit out of my Jaws yarn, my Jaws fingering yarn, that was by Kimberlolly. I entered that into the teal timber thread on High Fiber Diet, and my name was pulled, and so I won this skein of yarn from CJ Kopak, which is neat because I haven't I don't have any of her stuff, and I was hoping she was going to be at the Arkansas Fiber Festival, but she had to cancel. I guess she's having some health issues. So watch her shop, her Etsy shop, because I think she's going to be putting some stuff up for sale. Anyway, I was happy to get this. This is her, let's see, it's our DK and DK light worsted weight, and it's Pullworth and silk. That would be nice. And the color is raspberry. And I'm probably going to do, since I just made those other DK socks, I'll probably make some more socks with this, since this is the DK weight, and it will be fast and very warm. They'll be nice warm socks. But thank you, Kagi, for sending that to me. I'm so excited that I won. I also wanted to talk about a club shipment that I got in. I'm in a couple of clubs. This was the last shipment of the Knitting Rose yarn club that's for lace weight, and she does some really beautiful dyeing. I believe this is again the silk and merino, and it came with a picture showing her inspiration for the yarn. This is called the Stony Staircase, and yes, it is her superfine superwash merino wool and silk, and it's 1,085 yards. That's a lot of yardage, and it's beautiful. It looks like the colors of the steps. It's grays with some greens. There's some mossy greens and some blue from the sky. And it came with a pattern from the Knitting Fairy. This is called the Official Mistress, and I believe the name that she gave to the pattern is related to the Stony Staircase. It said there was a story here. It says she took cues from portraits of the Countess of Kosel, who was the official mistress for Augustus the Strong. And that's who was the inspiration for this. I guess the Stony Staircase is related to this. So this is from Knitting Rose Yarns. And this was her lace club. I believe my next thing that I wanted to do is to go ahead and pull for the winner of the Stephanie Japel book, the Glam Knits book. I had 3 entries, and so you have a pretty good chance of winning. I decided I wasn't going to use a random number generator since there's only 3 people, so I'll pull from this and see what I get. It's number 4, Nitpicky in Pennsylvania, and oh, it's nice that she won. I've had some back and forth with her a little bit about where she's living and where I grew up. I grew up, I think, probably in this almost the same area that she lived in when she was growing up, which is in Pennsylvania. And yes, I am a long way from home. She said I was a long way from home. But I feel like this is my home now because I've been here for about 15 or 16 years. Anyway, congratulations, Nitpicky in Pennsylvania. Why don't you go ahead and send me your address so that I can get this book, Glam Knits, in the mail to you. And since we're done with that one, and we have a new month, and I know all of you guys are probably knitting for Christmas. I'm not. I've kind of gotten to the point where I don't knit for people for Christmas unless somebody asks me, because my first year I knit a lot of stuff for people, and I found out not everybody really wants hand knits for Christmas, so I usually knit for myself. So anyway, I know a lot of you are knitting for Christmas, so I thought we would have another finished object thread, and I wanted to give away this Noro book. And the books that I've been giving away are books that I already own, but by mistake I bought another one. I'm trying to be better about that, but I have a couple of books that I have doubles of, and usually by the time I figure out that I have a double, it's too late to bring it back to the store. So you guys benefit from that. This is the Noro book, number 18, and I pretty much like all the patterns in here. I kind of collect Noro pattern books because I really enjoy their yarns. I'll show you a couple this week. I'll do like I did before. Here is a jacket, and this is knit out of Neurocurion, and it looks like it also, no, it doesn't have a hood, but it's a big thick sweater with cables in it. And the other side also has a Curion, it looks like a vest, and I really like this one. This is a vest, and it looks like it crosses over the front. So, and that one is also made out of Curion. So those are some of the patterns that are in here. Oh, here's a better picture of the first sweater. It shows that it has a turtleneck on it, and it's got some big cables. So this one is volume 18, and this is going to be the thing that the person will win for the next finished object thread for the month of December. This time I'm just going to run it for 1 month, but last month I only had 3 entries. So you guys, you have a really good chance of winning if you enter. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is I'm going to try to get some more people in the Ravelry group. And in order to get up to 100, so far we have, I think, about 68, 70 people in the group, which is wonderful. I'm so happy. But I'm going to try to see if we can get it up to 100. And if we can get up to 100, I will have one of the people who is in the group win a skein of my yarn, and you'll be able to pick whatever you want from my shop. So what I'd like you to do in order to win that contest is to go ahead in the introductions thread and introduce yourself. So I'm going to be pulling from people who have introduced themselves in the introduction thread in my Undead Yarn Ravelry group. So enter to win get a chance to win a skein of my yarn. Hopefully we can get up to 100 soon, and that'll be wonderful. If this goes well, I may decide to do that for every 100 if we're able to do it. So go ahead and enter, guys, and make sure that you introduce yourself in the introduction thread. The last thing I have to talk about is the new yarns that are in the shop. There's 3 of them. And I'll go ahead and show you those. Actually, I have 2 that are up, but 1 that I haven't pictured yet, or I haven't photographed yet, so I'll show you all 3 of them. The first one is called Freddy. And Freddy is inspired by Freddy Krueger's sweater. And it's a self-striping yarn. It's red and black. And it's in my fingering weight yarn. It's in the vampire base. And here is what it looks like knit up. And the sample as well as the yarn, pictures of the yarn are up on the website right now. And the other self-striping yarn I just knit up, or dyed up and then knit, is called Gizmo. And this is Gizmo after the Gremlin Gizmo. And this one looks like this when it's knit up. It's natural and then a variegated brown. And this is also another self-striping. The one that I haven't put up yet is called Naiad. And this is going to be like my Pennywise yarn. This is going to be version number 1 because it's not quite the way I wanted it to be. It's gray and purple, but what I wanted was a gray and a light purple. But it did come out, I still think it came out pretty. But this is going to be version number 1 because it's not quite what I was expecting. And this one isn't on the website yet, but I'll get it up there soon. And before I sign off, I just wanted to let everybody know that there is a sale going on in the shop. Some of the yarns are marked down to 50%. I'm trying to move out the DK weight yarn. I'm going to be introducing a sport weight yarn, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with the DK. I think the sport weight yarn will sell better since it's got more yardage, and I believe it's about 300 yards, so that will be the new yarn coming into the shop. And go ahead and go check out my my shop. It's undeadyarn.etsy.com. And with that, I'd like to say, get busy knitting or get busy dyeing.